Greetings everyone, I'm Mar once again. Time for another quick little vlog video. Sorry for the messy hair and the weird surroundings. I just came out of the gym over that way past the vehicles. It's sunny out, and a couple things I gotta address in this one. Those of you who've been watching the channel for a long time know that recently I just finished my long review series of Everybody Loves Raymond, going through every normal episode, the 6-year anniversary one, the finale anniversary one, The Last Laugh, which I had to find on YouTube because my disc didn't want to work, and of course my VHS list. Now, I started that back in 2020 when I was on furlough during COVID to help kill the boredom. Kind of like the reason I started doing YouTube was when I was unemployed. In between high school and college, I need something to do, or else my ADHD mind was just going to go stir crazy. I had to kill insomnia somehow. Now that that's over, I have to think of what I'm going to do in the future. Now, I do have a couple immediate projects I'm thinking of doing. Since it's November, I do plan on reviewing Survivor Series 2002 this month. Because one, it was the first Survivor Series I saw as a new fan, and before going back and rewatching a couple of the other ones, and I actually have the VHS for it, so it'd be nice to revisit that one, because that one, along with Backlash '02, was a pay-per-view I used to watch a lot, because, you know, I just had them. It's one of those ones that, when I talk about it, I should be able to break down the matches pretty well. It's just since I haven't watched it in a while, I don't know what my current opinion on it is. It seems to be one that certain aspects of it, some of the fandom doesn't really enjoy as much, but we'll see if my older adult thoughts are still going a little bit more with my younger self, or if I'm leaning a little bit more towards the greater fandom now with it. Now, there's also a couple other series I'm thinking of delving into. Now, I haven't touched on Star Trek in a while, but I do plan on going back into my random episode review series. With Next Generation, I'm probably going to skip on to season 2 and review a couple episodes from that season I wanted to talk about. Continue on some other Deep Space Nine ones I want to talk about. As for a long-winded review series like I did with Raymond, I don't know if I'll do another sitcom that long. Like, I don't think I'd touch on Seinfeld that long. If I ever do Seinfeld, it'll probably just be like the random episodes I do remember from when I was young, or I might just watch them all and just do season review ones. As for other sitcoms I'm thinking of touching in the future, I'm thinking like Alf, the Munsters, and some of the other old school ones I grew up with might be interesting to touch on, mainly because they're only like a couple seasons long, so it might just take a year or so to actually do, less if I end up doing it in 2 episodes a week one. But I think with those ones, whichever one I decide to touch, it'll probably be, or I review it like on a Wednesday, and then what other series I decide to do will be the other day. Now, what I mean by that is that there's 1 of 2 series that I plan on doing for my Monday one. I haven't decided which one yet because I keep going back and forth between them, but when I list them out, you'll understand why I'm thinking of touching them. If I do, it probably will not be until after the new year, just so I can get enough of them in the can so that I can be at least a month or 2 out with them, so I don't have to worry about missing a week or having to skip to another day like I had to do a couple times with the Raymond one, in case something happens like depression or feeling the effects of a convention or some other outing over my weekend, or some other random work crap pops up that interrupts my recording schedule. Now, those 2 are Steven Universe and Batman the Animated Series. Now, those of you who know anything about me know why those ones. I don't know if I've talked about them on YouTube, but Batman the Animated Series, I think I've mentioned, was one of my childhood favorites. That, the original Ninja Turtles, which is another one I'm thinking of touching one day, but that one I'm thinking of more doing video essay style, and like after rewatching the whole show and all that. Now, I haven't really rewatched it en masse in quite a while. The last time I did, I got like 60 episodes in, was a decade ago, right after watching The Dark Knight Rises for the first time. Did my review on it, and of course got that one guy who had been kind of a little bit of a long-term fan, but then he decided to be an asshole on that, pulling the "oh, you'll understand when you're older" thing. Maybe in some regard you'll understand stuff when you're older, but having an opinion on something that kind of comes out of nowhere in that film to the degree that it was presented, yeah, that is a valid opinion on that one. Just like if you feel the other way and think like, yeah, it kind of made sense to me due to that, that's also a valid opinion. You can't say I'm wrong based on how it is presented in the films. Now, this one, it'd be fun to go back and revisit a lot of these episodes. The ones that I did get through last year, a decade ago, excuse me. It'd be nice to see because it's 10 years since I revisited them. So it'd be nice to see what I think about them a decade older. And then the ones that I didn't get to, it'd be nice to see. And then, of course, getting to the sequel show, it'd be nice to go through there. It'd be nice to also revisit some of the films associated with the show, like Mask of the Phantasm, which is what I'm thinking of starting the review series with after my overview. Then, of course, we got Sub-Zero, which I have never seen. And if I can track down a copy of it, I think Mystery of the Batwoman might be a good epilogue for it. I don't think I will include Justice League and Superman in it. Those ones might be separate review things if I ever decide to do it. Now I will do the crossovers with Superman because those ones are pretty good, but that would probably be after the New Batman Adventures because it is like a separate thing, but it would be thrown in there with it. Of course, if I ever did Superman, I have to throw it in that playlist too because you guys see I always do playlists for my long form series, so in case you guys want to watch them in order. Although I think the Raymond one I got to go back and fix a couple times, but hashtag lazy ass editor. Now as for Steven Universe, that one is because it did get me through some stuff almost a decade ago when I first found the series randomly. It's one of those random things you just happen to slip through channels and catch it and like, what is this? And you're intrigued, and then because you're intrigued, you go deeper into the lore of the show, it hooks you, and then you stick around, and then you're watching it first run once it gets through all the bigger twist stuff. Now for that one, it'll be interesting because a lot of the shows early on, I know like the little burb gist of what the episodes are about, but there's a lot I have not seen, so a lot of it'll be fresh thoughts. And of course, since I know the greater lore that happens later, I'll be able to connect it back to that, so it'll be interesting to see that. And then of course, once I get to the end of season 1, it'll be mostly revisit stuff, occasionally maybe a first run one if it's something I don't remember, which I think is only like a couple episodes of that. Another show I'm thinking of tackling in the future is Breaking Bad. I don't know if I'll do that as a long form review series or do that one like with the Star Trek one, but instead of skipping around through the episodes in order, actually do all of them. That one be a revisited one too, because I haven't seen that one in about a decade outside of the random clips that constantly pop up on YouTube and TikTok. So that'd be fun to see the one that knocks. And of course, with that one, I'd also be watching the movie for the first time because I have not watched the movie, nor have I watched Better Call Saul. That's right. Yeah, I haven't watched the sequel series. So maybe I'll watch the sequel series first and then do a revisiting of it. And the funny thing is, I mentioned Breaking Bad. As I say this, behind me, there is an RV moving through the lot. Portable meth lab en route. Oh, yeah. Of course, I do plan on doing reviews of some Sons of Anarchy stuff, but I don't know if that one will be constant or if I'll just do that one a season at a time randomly, kind of like how I did Game of Thrones. But for those of you who like my Game of Thrones review series, even though they didn't have as much traffic as my other ones, I do plan on going back to that one, but that's going to be once I finally get through book 2 and then actually start on Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon, because I've been procrastinating on getting to that one. It just seems that even though I love reading, as I get older, it's a little bit harder to focus. Maybe it's because my mind is split in multiple directions. Although there are nights when I'm able to get through it. Maybe it's also with Game of Thrones, it's a little harder to get through now, considering I know how much he's procrastinating on it. So it's one of those things like, do I really want to read through it again? But maybe it's one of those things that I actually need to reread the first book again, fall in love with it, and then read through it again. Maybe that will help it. Maybe just skipping to book 2 again is probably what hurt myself with it. And also, of course, down the road, I plan on doing something Harry Potter related, but I know that's kind of a negative or not a good thing to mention, considering what the author has turned into, but it is what it is on there. That's a little childhood thing, which that one would involve me rereading the books and then watching the films. So that one would be a long-winded one, especially once we get to the later ones, but also be a little bit nostalgic, so I can go into and talk about how I was introduced to the series and all that. This one would be more a video essay series, but I also am planning on rereading something Stephen King related and doing a behind the text thing of it. I was thinking maybe starting with Dark Tower, but I am thinking of delving into something either vampiric or cosmic. If you know his works, you'll know what two novels I'm talking about with that. Let's just say one of them I have done an actual review of the whole book on, and the other one I don't think I've really talked about that much on here, other than maybe in passing. But then, of course, there's another project I'm thinking of doing a video essay on. I just got to get through that book, which that'll probably be the next one I read, because it has probably one of the saddest Stephen King moments in it, which that's probably going to be the subject of it once I reread it again. And, of course, the other thing, and this is one that came to mind as I was getting through the last few episodes of Raymond, which is why I'm thinking of tackling this first, considering this would be a shorter one to tackle than the other ones, and if I start tackling this one, it'd probably be beginning of December. And that is delving through the films of the Disney Renaissance. All of them, from the beginning of the Renaissance all the way to the end of it, and how it kind of seemed to peter out a bit. And of course, with that, I will also I'm also thinking of including the films that were right before the Renaissance, and then as like the pre-Renaissance ones, and the ones that were right afterwards, so you can kind of bookend it. And then, of course, maybe throw Princess and the Frog in there, since I've never actually watched it, and it was a one-off return to 2D animation form for them. Or that might be the Codex review. So that'd be a little fun thing to tackle, since that was the Disney era that I grew up on, and a lot of memories that go through there. And of course, it's also going to be a good excuse to get Nightmare Before Christmas out of the way. I know that was Touchstone, which is a Disney label instead of under the Disney banner itself. But considering that'll be in December, it would finally be good to get that review out of the way. The long promised but never delivered one. I'm still debating whether I'll do it off the cuff or video essay. Either way, it'd be fun. That's all that's coming down the pipe in the next couple months. All right. John, I know you're going to be watching this sometime soon. And if you do got any Patreon requests for the last couple months, just shoot them to me. I'll throw that in there in between the other stuff, because I know I still owe you a couple on that, man. And other than that, the only other thing is for my birthday, I am playing a Q&A, but when I get closer to it, I'll announce the Q&A thing for that. But until then, have a good one, everyone.